What does it mean to think historically? Do we see the past as an unchanging entity, standing alone through the annals of time? Or are we constantly reinterpreting it through the prisms of the present? At what point should history be understood on its own terms, within its own context? When Rousseau said man is born free but everywhere in chains, he could easily have been referring to the mental prejudices that we bring to the table when thinking about the past.
Όσο υπάρχει ιστορία θα υπάρχουν διαφορετικές ερμηνείες. Θα υπάρχει μια συγκρουσιακή ανάγνωση κρίσιμων ιστορικών γεγονότων. Ανοίγονται δύο δρόμοι. Ο δρόμος της πλήρους ανομίας, όπου ο καθένας προσπαθεί να επιβάλλει στον άλλον τη δική του αφήγηση, και ο δρόμος αυτής της πλατιάς διαβούλευσης σε κοινωνίες που έχουν την ωριμότητα να συνειδητοποιήσουν ότι υπάρχουν πράγματα που μας χωρίζουν, αλλά και πολλά πράγματα που μας ενώνουν.
In places with ethnic, religious or different types of conflicts, history education becomes an organic part of the conflict, and it's the case in Cyprus. We need to find alternative approaches to change this.
Supposedly, this is a place obsessed with history, but there's a scarcity of research on historical understanding amongst children, and in my mind, this is kind of a paradox. If you want to teach history effectively, why not start from how are children thinking and what can we do to enable them to think in more historical ways.
Ο κρισιμότερος ίσως ρόλος δεν είναι ο ρόλος του σχολείου και ο ρόλος του μαθήματος ιστορίας, όσο είναι αυτή η δημόσια διάσταση της ιστορίας. Δηλαδή, ξέρετε, έχουμε την ψευδαίσθηση ότι αυτό που διαμορφώνεται στην ιστορική συνείδηση των μαθητών έχει σχέση αποκλειστικά και μόνο με τα σχολικά εγχειρίδια. Είναι ψέμα αυτό, όλες οι έρευνες το δείχνουν. Δηλαδή, το παιδί ήδη από τα πρώτα στάδια της κοινωνικοποίησής του διαμορφώνει ιδεολογικά σχήματα. Πηγαίνει στο σχολείο οπλισμένο με ιδεολογικά σχήματα, τα οποία βεβαίως και δεν συνειδητοποιεί.
To think that really everything is learned, or the majority is learned of what is written down in curricula and in textbooks, is a very bad mistake. We know, meanwhile, very well from empirical studies that often the textbooks are not understood, even if they are read.
You can use the most nationalist textbook as a masterpiece of critical thinking. You can show your students and encourage them not to memorize and believe in everything they are told to them or what is in the textbook. To be able to think, evaluate the facts, have a multiple perspective approach, and always inquire.
Γι' αυτό μιλώ για μια γενικότερη συλλογική διαδικασία αυτογνωσίας, στην οποία οπωσδήποτε κεντρικό ρόλο θα παίξει ο εκπαιδευτικός. Αλλά ένας εκπαιδευτικός ο οποίος έχει συνείδηση της επιστημονικής του ιδιότητας, όχι ένας εκπαιδευτικός που λειτουργεί ως σημάντας μεταβίβασης κάποιας ιδεολογίας, ενός εκπαιδευτικού που θα λειτουργεί ως ένας μάχημος διανοούμενος. Όχι μόνο ανακυκλώνοντας την επίσημη γνώση, αλλά και παράγοντας γνώση.
A first of its kind study on the perceptions of history teachers from both sides of the divide highlighted the common needs of educators across the island.
A lot of people actually say that we don't feel comfortable teaching after we finish our undergraduate studies to teach history. So they want in-service training. They are very dissatisfied with the current history textbooks, the majority in both communities. So there is, I think, a great need for educational reform of the curriculum of history teaching, not only of just, changing the content of a textbook, but the methodology and the orientation of the educational system.
It's really important, the role of dialogue in interpreting a source, of listening to what other people say, of taking that on board, considering it, maybe agreeing with it or not. It's really important that you're able to say why you think what you think, that you can listen to others, possibly change your view, and at this really very elementary stage begin to learn that there are maybe lots of answers. Sometimes we don't know, or there may be more than one answer.
In the UK, we've avoided certain things, and we still avoid them. We avoid guilt from the Second World War because Britain was responsible for a very major war crime in terms of the nature of the bombing campaign. And that is not fully admitted. People have not faced up to that as yet, but we're going to have to face up to it at some point. And voices are starting to be heard.
Here's the issue. If you let specific historical experiences have dominance over the present and future, then you close down the channels of communication and the potential for open democratic dialogue that allow for mutual understanding and recognition of differences.
If you want a future, then this future will be a common future. Any idea that we will be deeply separated and isolated from each other from now to the last judgment is not really intelligent.
And this is where the Association for Historical Dialogue and Research comes in, approaching consensus on how to see the past in a more dispassionate way. The very methods we use to teach and learn history can give us the tools to understand the past in a substantive way.
Elbette ki politik veya ulusal, milli tarih verilmesin diye bir şey yoktur. Ama bunun dışlayıcı, öteki yaratıcı, milliyetçi, ırkçı bir şekilde öğretilmesi başka bir şey. Çok bakış açılı, farklı görüşlerin olabileceği, bir takım düşünsel becerilerini geliştirmeyi öğrencinin ve farklı bakış açıları olduğunu vermeye yönelinmiştir.